Virginia's POV. I'd been in a secret relationship with Slade Forsyth for 3 years when we found out I was pregnant. For the first time, I made him so happy he finally proposed to me. It felt like all my waiting had been worth it. He finally loved me back. But 5 months into my pregnancy, I stopped by the office to hand over some work, only to catch his hands all over the new secretary sitting on his lap. His mouth was on her neck, whispering sweet words that shattered the entire life I thought we were building. Millie, once she gives birth, we'll get married, okay? You're the only one I want to spend the rest of my life with. Millicent Laramie, his ex, the one who dumped him years ago because she didn't want to have kids. She'd rather be a stepmom than go through pregnancy. This whole time, Slade dated me and proposed to me just because I was the woman who'd naively do anything for him for love, even carry his child. Giving birth for him was a convenient path to get both of what he wanted, an heir and a married life with the ex he never moved on from in the years we were together. Turns out, 10 years of patiently loving him didn't melt his heart. It only gave him time to manipulate mine so he could use my womb. He could break it, but not until I made 2 decisions. 1. Abort the baby. I won't bring life into the world for an asshole. 2. Disappear and make damn sure that asshole regrets losing me for the rest of his life. I picked up my phone, and without thinking twice, I scheduled the abortion. Finally, I dialed the number my heart never forgot. You said before that you'd marry me. Do you still mean it? Of course. By the time I hung up the phone, the sound of panting in the CEO's office had finally faded. My fingers were cold as I turned and made my way back to the meeting room. Forcing myself to sit down, I busied my hands with documents, coordinating with my assistant while trying to suppress the nausea rising in my chest. I didn't know how long had passed before the door opened. Slade and Millicent walked out, one after the other. He had changed into a new suit, but not a fresh shirt. The faint imprint of a lipstick stain lingered at his collar. Millicent's makeup had been retouched, but the flush on her cheeks was still too obvious to hide. I stood up, ready to leave, but Millicent suddenly walked up to me with a sweet smile. Virginia, what a surprise to see you here. Today's actually my first day. What a coincidence. I didn't want to entertain her, but as she walked toward me holding a cup of hot water, she suddenly tripped and came tumbling straight in my direction. Glass shattered against the floor. I stumbled out of the way just in time, but she collapsed onto the table like a wilting flower. Her voice trembled, sounding pitiful and wronged. Did I do something to upset you? Why would you trip me like that? The act was so clumsy, so obvious, I couldn't even be bothered to respond. But Slade had already rushed over, helping her up with a look of deep concern. Millie, are you hurt? Then he turned to me, his brows furrowed tightly, his voice sharp and cold. Miss Aberdeen, you're pregnant now. You're in a sensitive condition. You shouldn't be running around here. Just because you're expecting doesn't mean you can assault the new hires. He didn't even hesitate to scold me. No questions asked, he handed down the verdict that I did what the new hire said. I didn't trip her, I said weakly, but he didn't believe me at all. You're saying she just fell on her own? Each word was like a needle, stabbing into my chest. Looking at the two of them standing there so intimately, I couldn't say another word. I turned away, clutching my mouth as I fled to the restroom. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Gripping the sink, I retched until tears streamed down my face. Suddenly, I heard a bang, the door was pushed open, and Slade walked in. He frowned. Honey, I didn't mean to be harsh just now. There were employees around, I couldn't be too obvious. And yes, you were wrong to trip Millicent, but I know you didn't mean it. His tone was low and gentle, and he even reached out to steady me. Just go home and rest, okay? Don't overwork yourself or stress the baby. I'll come home tonight and keep you company, alright? I straightened up, forced a small smile, and said softly, understood, Mr. Forsyth. His hand froze midair. I had never called him that before. I was always the clingy one, always calling him Slade or hubby. I hated calling him Mr. Forsyth. It felt so distant, so cold. His expression faltered for a moment, like I had caught him off guard, but then the sound of heels clicking echoed from outside. A moment later, an employee walked in. Slade's reaction was immediate. He flung my hand aside and his tone turned frigid again. Miss Aberdeen, please mind your conduct. This is a company, not your home. You can act sweet with your husband in private, but not with me. Your husband. Mind your conduct. His words hit me like a bucket of ice water. Just like that, he didn't look at me again. He turned and left in a hurry, desperate to draw a line between us in front of other people. I stood there, gently cradling the child in my belly. For a long time, not even tears would come out from my eyes. Virginia's POV. Slade never told anyone we were together. We'd been in a relationship for 3 years, but he still presented himself to the world as single, charming, composed, effortlessly poised. I never asked why he kept me a secret. Back then, I thought just being with him was enough. It made me happy. I started falling for him back in high school, the day he shielded me from a scalding splash of boiling water a bully had thrown. It's been 10 years, and that feeling hasn't faded, not even a little. 3 years ago, when Slade and Millicent broke up, he drank himself into a stupor. I followed him to the bar that night, choking on the smoke and the noise, but I stayed with him. Somewhere in his drunken haze, he asked if I wanted to try being with him. I knew it was out of spite. I knew he didn't love me, but I couldn't resist. I said yes. I told myself, if I love him enough, if I treat him right, one day he'll love me back the way I love him. Looking back now, I see just how terribly wrong I was. At home, I watched the clock pass. It was almost a new day, and yet he still wasn't home. Past midnight, he finally messaged me. Hon, I have a dinner meeting tonight. I'll be home late. Don't wait up. Get some rest. But I'd already seen Millicent's post on her Insta story, a picture of her being carried on a man's back. She wrote a caption, still the most husband material guy ever. Gosh, I'm seriously tearing up. Should I say yes to his proposal? Dinner meeting? Dinner meeting my ass. So he proposed to her, huh? It was not the half-hearted promises he gave me, but a real one. The kind of guy makes when he wants someone in his life forever. I stared at that blurry photo over and over again. It felt like I was right back in school, watching their love from the sidelines. Suddenly, pain twisted in my belly, so I shut my phone off. I didn't need to see more. I'm already planning to leave. What's the point of holding on? So I got up and started packing. I threw away the couple's toothbrushes, the matching mugs, and the cushions I picked out for Slade and I, everything. Just as I was tying up the trash bag, Slade walked through the door. He glanced at me, asking, "Didn't you love those things? Why are you throwing them out?" I looked down, my fingers cold, forcing my voice to stay casual. "They're old. I'm just tired of them." I hoped he'd ask again, but he didn't. He didn't care enough to. He walked over, like it was just another night, placed his hand gently on my belly, and murmured to the baby, "Were you good today, little one? Daddy's home." He looked like the perfect dad, sweet and gentle. There was a time that would have melted me. I used to think, if he loves our baby that much, maybe he loves me too. Maybe he just doesn't know how to say it. But now I know. He loves our baby, not me. "Hon," he said. "You're still upset about earlier, aren't you? Don't be mad I didn't tell you about Millie working at the company. She's in between jobs, I was just helping out. It's temporary. She'll leave soon." He noticed I wasn't helping him with his coat. That was probably when he realized I was pissed. Finally, his voice softened to me. He was trying. "Are you jealous?" he asked. "Don't worry. Millie might be my ex, but I don't have feelings for her anymore. I've got you now." I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. He kissed my cheek, more affectionate than usual. "If I hadn't caught you with her," I replied mentally. "If I hadn't seen what I saw, I might have believed you. I might have felt touched. But now, everything you do, even this kiss, just feels like manipulation." Virginia's POV. The next day, my assistant told me the abortion had been scheduled. "Ma'am, are you really not going to tell the CEO? The baby's already this far along. There's no need." I rested my hand on my belly. It was like the baby knew I didn't want it anymore. It had gone so quiet. Honestly, up until just yesterday, I was still living in the illusion that I was happy. With how good Slade was at covering his lies, it would have been easy for him to keep seeing Millicent without me ever finding out. But he slipped. My guess? The pregnancy was too far along, and he assumed even if I found out, I wouldn't leave him. But I was tired. I'd waited 10 years for him to love me, since I was 16. I waited through silent crushes, waited through a pregnancy, waited through 3 years of being his secret. I could endure waiting, but I couldn't endure being used to carry a child for him and then discarded to make space for another woman. Before heading to the hospital, I stopped by the mall next door to grab something to eat. That's when I heard his deep and familiar voice nearby. "This section's worth focusing on. Domestic high-end brands are gaining more market share." I looked up. There he was, Slade, just a few aisles away, and beside him, Millicent. Both of them were dressed sharp, looking like they were here for some kind of business field visit. My chest tightened. I was just about to turn and walk away when I heard a fake chuckle. "Oh wow, it's Miss Aberdeen. What a coincidence." Millicent clicked toward me in her heels, her eyes gleaming with that fake professionalism. Before I could even speak, the mall manager rushed over and greeted them, smiling widely. "Mr. and Mrs. Forsyth, this way, please. We've got a brand new section to show you. Please, just call me Millicent. Let's keep work and personal matters separate," Millicent corrected, still smiling. Her voice was soft, but she made sure to glance at me when she said it. My fists clenched. So Slade, the man who had kept me hidden all these years, didn't even wait for our child to be born before introducing his ex as his fiancé, to business partners, no less. "Miss Aberdeen, help me keep this a secret, okay?" she added, like it was some inside joke. "No one at the company knows about us yet. We want to wait until the wedding to announce it. You won't say anything, right?" She smiled at me like I was a stranger, like she didn't know I was his current fiancé. Slade's expression stiffened. There was guilt in his eyes, but also that same old silent warning, as if saying, "Don't make a scene." My heart twisted as I forced a smile. Of course, I won't say anything, because once this abortion was done, I was done too. I was leaving. Whatever was between them had nothing to do with me anymore. "I knew I could count on you, Miss Aberdeen," Millicent chirped. "By the way, what are you doing here alone? Where's your husband?" There was something triumphant in her gaze as she leaned in and grabbed my arm like we were old friends. "All this data talk makes me nervous. It's all men. Will you stay with me?" I pulled away gently, refusing to meet Slade's eyes. "I don't have a husband." I could see his face darken for a moment, but he quickly covered it up. His tone turned clipped. "Since you're already here, show Millicent around. She's still learning the ropes." Then, without waiting for a reply, he walked off with the mall manager. I frowned and tried to pull my arm away from Millicent's grip, but she leaned in closer, her voice low and sharp. "I know you're his fiancé, but so what? Let me be clear, you're practically just the incubator. Slade is mine. Once that baby's out, the real wife, that will be me." My whole body went cold. "Let go." I gave her a small push and nothing rough, but she suddenly cried out and stumbled sideways, falling hard into a woman walking by with a baby in her arms. Both the woman and her child hit the ground. When her baby screamed, she looked stunned and then furious. "Are you insane? What the hell are you doing? Pushing people when you're pregnant? Are you trying to kill someone?" I stepped forward, trying to explain, but Millicent cut me off, tears already spilling from her eyes, her voice even trembling. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It was my fault. The vice president didn't mean to. Please don't blame her, ma'am. It was my fault."